Good afternoon. This video is going to be about your food storage in your pantry. This is not a topic I don't think I've talked about in a very long time. I think it was pretty much really worthy of being readdressed. If you don't keep very much food storage, I highly recommend that you do. And the reason why is we never know when we're going to face a natural disaster or an economic disaster or any number of things that may make that extra food that you have on hand become very helpful. You may have something like a job loss. We had last fall, my husband had been laid off for a few months, and thankfully we had severance pay through the time. We also had a lot of food storage to help that out, and that was a huge blessing. And I know many of you may say, oh, I just don't have enough money to be putting very much back right now. We're making it week to week. I know, I've been there, done that many times. We've been pretty blessed. We're able to put extra back right now. And we were just talking about yesterday how it's really important in those times of plenty that we store up. It kind of reminded us of the story about Joseph and interpreting those dreams from Pharaoh, that God told him there would be those 7 years of plenty to store up for those 7 years of bad. So I think it's important that we remember we need to try and store up what we can. It doesn't mean you can plan for everything. You do have to live day to day ultimately. But if you can store up some extras to get through some lean times, that's a good thing to do. We aren't perfect. We don't have a perfect pantry or perfect food storage. We could certainly do better than we are, but I don't think we're doing terrible either. What we've done is a few years ago we bought a chest freezer. At one time we had a really big one, but things were kind of getting lost in it because they would just get buried. So we got one of those little half-sizers one, but it still holds a lot of frozen foods. Enough that if something happened and we actually lost that from a major power outage, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it still holds a lot, and that is a blessing. The house that we currently rent has a basement, which has been an awesome spot to add some extra shelves and extra canned goods and things like that. I may insert a picture or two. All in all, it's not a massive amount to me, but it may be a whole lot to some others. It just depends on your situation. And I'm always very reluctant to share what we have because I don't want to make people feel bad, like if I have more. Because I know that there's some folks out there that are that way, and I'm not trying to inspire envy. But I do want to encourage us to assess where we are as homemakers. If you're the one in charge of your food budget and procuring food, then let's think about what do we have, what can we do better? What is a good place for us in the home that we currently live in? What can we store up and use creative spaces? Like, I'm really blessed with this basement right now, but maybe you're in a tight apartment. The last place we were in was a 2-bedroom apartment, and we have both of our children, and we were cramming everything into nooks and crannies to do what we had to do. We had our chest freezer at first in our living room, and then we actually stashed it in a corner in the kids' room. We're doing everything we could just to hide things in weird places. We'll put bookcases in the dining room along the walls, and sometimes those hold food storage. Just depends on the layout of your home. You'll have to be creative. Under beds, many places that you can find if you really try. And as for the money to do that, my recommendation is simple. Look for freebies as much as possible. A lot of times people are giving things away that maybe they don't want anymore, stuff like that. In the fall, maybe people have some fruit trees and things that they're not going to process or keep that fruit. Volunteer, say, yes, I will gladly take your apples if you don't want them, and make some applesauce, put that away, learn how to do that. Another big obvious one is look for sales, buy in bulk, things of that nature. And even if you only have $5 or $10 in a week or a couple weeks, put that toward adding to your food supply. It doesn't have to be a lot, and over time, if you do that with each of your grocery budgets, make sure at least a little bit of that goes toward the extra. Always buy it on sale too, but always get those extra sales. Get a few extra cans of green beans, a few extra cans of corned beef, whatever. Add those in there when you got a good deal on them, and over time it will build up and you'll find yourself in a better place a few weeks or a few months down the road. Ours did not happen overnight, not even remotely. I do recommend bulk. It's just such a good deal, even on a normal basis. Like right now, we buy our sugar, wheat berries if we're using them. We haven't used a whole lot of those anymore, but the sugar, the flour, rice, things like that, we tend to buy those in bulk, and then we put them in food safe buckets and then use the Gamma lids. That way you can screw and unscrew the lids. It's a lot easier to get in and out of them. But those buckets is such an excellent way to store those dry goods. We have some home canned goods, and then we have, of course, the store-bought, like your Aldi or Save-A-Lot or whatever stores you have in your area. Maybe you have those discount groceries. I hear about those all the time. Those sound nice. We don't have one in our area. But in general, I'm glancing that way because it's my food storage. I'm thinking as I'm looking. But just do what you can with what you got. Store with the provisions that God has given you, and of course, try not to waste. I need to work better at not wasting. I am terrible about, I try, but yet I still find myself each week when I go and clean out the fridge and it's like, I never used that cucumber, I never used that head of lettuce. Stuff like that happens. I think it happens to everybody, but your goal needs to be, as my favorite YouTuber, Amy Marianne, says, gather up the fragments. Of course, she's drawn from scriptures and stuff there, but gather up those fragments and use what you have. Get those tossed into a pot of soup if you've got some carrots that are about to go or whatever. Use those things, use up the resources God gives us when He gives them to us. So that's my encouragement for today, is work on that food storage. And I may, if there's interest, do more along this topic. I personally like the topic. I'm a weird person. There's a side of me that doesn't want to keep too much stuff, so I find interest in minimalism videos, but yet I watch prepper videos too. I'm a little bit crazy. Anyway, I like prepper videos. I really like them a lot, and I feel good having a certain amount of storage. But we don't own this home, so that means we're going to have to move one day when we go and get our own home. Hopefully it's in 2 or 3 years and we'll have some time. But eventually we will buy our own place, good Lord willing, and we will need to move this stuff. So we can't store too crazy of an amount of stuff, and we probably have a bit much given we're a renter, even as it is. But we got to do the best we can with what we got. For now, we have an amount that we're comfortable with, and hopefully maybe, given some time, we can improve that a little bit more, be efficient with it, do your rotating your food storage. That's important too. So guilty of losing some stuff in the past here. Working right now on a very old bucket of rice, but it's still fine. So use those things up. Just make do with what the good Lord gives you. And if He's given you some provisions and some abundance, the thing on our hearts right now is we have a little extra abundance in what we've been given food-wise, and we need to work on that, get that built up. That way when those sudden shocking things happen, like layoffs or whatever, I know this year there's been a lot of crop failures all across the United States. That's a big deal. That's something to think about. Do we need to store up extra? Probably wouldn't hurt. Who knows how food prices are going to be in 6 months, and especially within a year. I have no idea how bad it really is. I've seen a few things about it of concern, so store up things. Might as well. It's a good, smart thing to do, because you never know when something might happen, and those food storage supplies may bless you. And that, by the way, that can also be laundry detergent. That can be many other things. So be thinking along those lines. It's just something I want to encourage you guys today. I hope you have a blessed day.